Joe, we continue on our Week 12 stretch here, and we're going to talk about and go to a game in the SEC, a team that, look, I know you've clowned on me all year about this team, but we're going to talk about South Carolina versus Missouri, and, man, I'm pretty excited, to be honest with you, to talk about this game. Can South Carolina continue their path of being better? Are they getting a little bit hot down the stretch here in November? Cocktober is over. But now
Cockvember.
I mean, also, I don't know. But Missouri, very quickly, Missouri coming off look, they beat Oklahoma, but they've kind of been off a little bit offensively. Can they score enough points against a really good South Carolina defense?
First of all, you can't bring up that I've clowned on you for South Carolina, because the reality is I'm the clown here for the way that I've talked about South Carolina this season, because every single time I've doubted them, they have found a way to prove me wrong. So again, I've stated this before, but for some reason, South Carolina fans keep bringing up in the comments that I won't give South Carolina any credit. Well, I have been wrong. And I think that this is going to be a game we're going to be reminded of what this team is like defensively. We have discussed multiple times, Blake, that Missouri's offensive line, it's a crap show. It's a mess. The way that they performed against Texas A&M is indicative of what's going to happen in this game for South Carolina. They're not going to be able to block Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart. They're not going to be able to do that at all. I have no faith that they will.
Tonka Hemingway in the middle.
The biggest piece here, Blake, that's going to come into for if Missouri can keep this thing close and within striking distance is what happens with Brady Cook. There's so much uncertainty. Drew Pine or whoever they decide to suit up and send out there, Sam Horn's another option for them. They don't have a viable backup quarterback that's worthy of starting in the SEC right now. If Brady Cook plays, I think that there's a little bit of life to this game that Missouri could play within this close, because Missouri themselves defensively, they have actually been quite underrated. They've been disruptive. They've been good at stopping the run. They've been good at getting after opposing quarterbacks. If they could get a couple of big stops, a couple of big turnovers, and Brady Cook plays, that's what they got to be hoping for. But I do not have faith considering what they're dealing with at quarterback right now.
I understand what you're saying about Mizzou defensively, and I know that, look, they had Oklahoma last week had two passes, one by Tatum and one by the other kid. I think the punter, maybe, I forget. They weren't able to completely move the football, on Mizzou. The problem is they still scored 23 points. And I think the biggest thing for me right now, Joe, is not necessarily completely what South Carolina has done defensively. When I look at South Carolina, since they've come out of their second bye week, brother, Lenora Sellers is coming into a zone here. Regardless of what you want to think about him, regardless of the stats or what he does, the bottom line is that Lenora Sellers last week and the week before against A&M, Joe, I see a kid that's getting confident in the passing game. He goes 14 of 20. He's dumping the ball off like, hey, throw's not here. I'm going to dump the ball off or I'm going to run. His processing is getting better. They are a physical football team. And, Joe, I got to be real with you. Their O-line's getting better. I mean, it's not as if
I don't want to go there yet.
They haven't given
up. Wait, hold on.
Joe, wait. No, you have to stop when a team does not give up a sack in 2 weeks.
That's a singular game, Blake. Look, we can't just ignore what they did for the previous.
Texas A&M is not singular.
Okay, first of all, Vandy's pass rush is not very productive and not very good.
They're 20th in the country in run defense, and they ran all over them. So you can sit here and tell me that they're not getting better, but when they can line up and run the ball on somebody.
It's not a crazy accomplishment to get better when you were literally the worst in college football.
Take South Carolina's the logo off the helmet. If I would have told you that a team ran for almost 200 yards on two top 20 rushing defenses, what would you have said?
Blake, stop. Okay, I hate when you do this when you make these arguments where you're like, well, what if I give you this random specific thing? What would you be saying?
It's not random.
Two recent games does not reflect, and we can't just ignore what happened at the beginning of the season for most of the season.
But they're getting better right now against top 20 run defenses. You can say whatever you want about the part of the season. When I say that they're getting better and they dominated in the running game against 2 top 20 run defenses, you don't have an argument. I'm sorry.
I do have an argument because they had 2 good games. That's it. We have enough evidence of previous games, the entire season.
You're doing this in South Carolina again. You're doing it again.
No, I'm not going to sit here and just blindly support this. I give a lot of credit to other parts of this team, but their offensive line, just because they had 2 good games, does not mean all their problems go away.
If a team would have ran on Oregon for 184 yards, what would you have said?
Again, stop using to divert the argument. You're just grabbing here's this one specific thing that diverts the conversation in a different direction.
Joe, do you think A&M's defensive line stinks?
No, I don't. And they played great.
Is Vandy top 3 in run defense in the SEC? Yes or no? Yes or no?
I don't know statistically.
They are. They are. Are they though? Yes. So again, you have a Rocket Sanders that's gotten healthy where they're establishing the run game. Now, pass pro, you can say that Sellers, for what it's worth, he's scrambled and he's gotten out of bad situations. But the truth is that the last 2 weeks, regardless coming out of the bye, top 20 run defenses, they have run all over. Rocket Sanders had 8.4 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. By the way, just going to throw this out there. That's against a defensive line who didn't allow Jalen Milroe a positive yard rushing.
I don't think that the statement that you're making of they have had 2 really good games, that's not wrong. That's absolutely not wrong. But it's a bit generous to say that they're getting a lot better. They've had 2 games. 2 games is not enough evidence.
Getting better, Joe.
Am I supposed to just throw away the way that they started the whole first
here's the thing
half of the year?
Here's the thing that I'm going to tell you. Missouri's not the team that's going to be able to stop them if A&M and Vandy can't, because they're 51st in the country in run defense. So getting back to the game, they're going to be able to line up and run right at them. That's the bottom line. They are going to physically dominate on both lines of scrimmage, whether we like it or not.
I don't think it's going to be, and again, to be perfectly clear here, before the South Carolina fans jump all over me.
You hate them.
I just stop. They're going to jump all over me. I'm standing by South Carolina winning this football game. Missouri, though, I think it's a little bit quick to assume that they're going to have immediate ease running the football against them. They're 20th in defensive havoc rate. They're 15th in defensive adjusted EPA per play. They're 17th in defensive EPA per rush. They're in that upper category. Forget the per game allowed statistics. They're in that upper category of per play, what they are doing whenever a team drops back, whenever a team runs the football, whenever they're getting tackles for loss, they're getting sacks. They can be a good unit. They have had games where they've played very, very well. And when you're going up against an offensive line that has had bad performances like them, like South Carolina, they could play well in this game. I don't think that's enough. I do not think that is enough for Missouri to pull this thing out. But South Carolina just needs to be aware of this. And I don't mind you bringing up that they've played well over the last 2 games, but to make it seem like that they're making this fast improvement is a little bit quick to rush to judgment. That's all I'm trying to say here.
They're running the ball like for 80 to 85 more yards a game coming out of the bye. So you can make the argument, but here's another truth. They both have a common opponent at A&M. And I saw one unit in Missouri who could not get anything going, and I saw South Carolina physically dominate A&M. So you're right. You're right. I can't make it. You're right. I can't make a judgment when they have a common opponent, and I can look on the film and
hold on. We always shut down the transitive property comment.
Not when the transitive property is with a defensive line like A&M's. So here's what the truth of what this game's going to look like. Missouri, you're right. The quarterback, if Cook was healthy, this would be more competitive. Okay. If Pine is going to be the kid that goes, he didn't have a bad game last week versus Oklahoma, Joe. He threw for 3 touchdowns. He had no picks. He threw for 143 yards. I mean, he wasn't bad. Oklahoma's just not a good football team. But the bottom line is South Carolina, for what they are, they have faced, this is going to be their 6th top 25 opponent, whether we like to call Missouri a top 25 opponent or not. That's what they are. So, again, their record does not indicate who they are as a team. They are a physical football team from start to finish. And here's the truth too. I really don't think it's not just the offensive line. It's not just Sanders. It's not just Sellers. They're coming into their own. Did you see Nick Harbor last week? They're getting three.
Yeah, Nick Harbor's been playing a lot better. Definitely been playing a lot better.
Joe, they are getting better every week. By the way, these are a lot of young guys that are getting better. I don't know. Look, Missouri can't keep this close. I do agree that run defense, they have been, or run defensive wise, they have been pretty stout in moments. But I don't think that they can physically overcome what South Carolina is going to do to them. I don't.
Yeah. To reiterate my point and to close out my thoughts on this, I just pointed out what Missouri's advanced stats are. South Carolina in all those categories, they're in top percentages. They're 7th in defensive adjusted EPA per play, 4th in defensive EPA per dropback, meaning that they are not allowing any production every single time a quarterback drops back for a pass. That's where the problems are going to come. Even if Brady Cook plays in this game, one would assume that he's banged up because he's tried to play through his injuries throughout this stretch, and it has not gone well, where he's been in and out of games for trying to get him back into the lineup. South Carolina's defense, I think this maybe won't be, if it's Pine, I think this game is going to go a lot similar to what happened against Oklahoma, where they just smoked Oklahoma. And there were so many early turnovers, so many early sacks that Oklahoma was already out of it in the first half, and there was no way for them to get back.
You're talking about what probably would look like when they faced off against Alabama, right? I mean, like,
same thing. Yeah, same exact thing.
Don't use transitive properties, Joe. You know what that does to us.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.